You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think. It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live. When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive. The best revenge is not to be like your enemy. He who lives in harmony with himself lives in harmony with the universe. It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor. The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Look well into yourself. There is a source of strength which will always spring up if you will always look. Do every act of your life as though it were the very last. A man's worth is no greater than the worth of his ambitions. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. When you have trouble getting out of bed in the morning, remember, I am rising to do the work of a human being. Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself. Receive without pride, let go without attachment. Dwell on the beauty of life. Watch the stars and see yourself running with them. Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself and your way of thinking. Accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together. Do not indulge in dreams of having what you have not, but reckon up the chief of the blessings you do possess. Think of yourself as dead. You have lived your life. Now take what's left and live it properly. The art of living is more like wrestling than dancing. A man should be upright, not kept upright. Loss is nothing else but change, and change is nature's delight. Whatever happens to you has been waiting to happen since the beginning of time. Adapt yourself to the things among which your lot has been cast, and love sincerely the fellow creatures with whom destiny has ordained that you shall live. Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul. The best way of avenging yourself is not to become like the wrongdoer. To live happily is an inward power of the soul. Consider that before long you will be nobody and nowhere. The universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make it. External things are not the problem. It's your assessment of them, which you can erase right now. Because a thing seems difficult for you, do not think it impossible. Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth. Don't go on discussing what a good man should be. Just be one. Choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed, and you haven't been. Reject your sense of injury, and the injury itself disappears. Just that you do the right thing, the rest doesn't matter. When you arise in the morning, meet the day with the thought, I will encounter the busybody, the ungrateful, the arrogant, the deceitful, the envious, the unsocial. Never let the future disturb you. You will meet it if you have to, with the same weapons of reason which today arm you against the present. No man is happy who does not think himself so. Do not be wise in words, be wise in deeds. Death smiles at us all, but all a man can do is smile back. Your days are numbered. Use them to open the windows of your soul to the sun. If you do not, the sun will soon set, and you with it. Nothing happens to any man that he is not formed by nature to bear. Time is a river, a violent current of events glimpsed once and already carried past us, and another follows and is gone. The whole universe is change, and life itself is but what you deem it. Do not waste what remains of your life in speculating about your neighbors, unless with a view to some mutual benefit. Everything is only for a day, both that which remembers and that which is remembered. Live not as though there were 1,000 years ahead of you. Fate is at your elbow. Make yourself good while life and power are still yours. Look back over the past with its changing empires that rose and fell, and you can foresee the future too. He who follows reason in all things is both tranquil and active at the same time. Life is neither good nor evil, but only a place for good and evil. Receive wealth or prosperity without arrogance, and be ready to let it go. A man's true delight is to do the things he was made for.